Winter is rapidly approaching, and as the hours of daylight that we have are getting shorter and shorter, I've got a bit of an issue. I actually power everything inside this van with my Bluetti AC240. This video isn't sponsored by Bluetti, and I'm not really going to be installing anything Bluetti related in this video. But my issue is, most of my power, especially in the summer months, comes from my solar panel. So because this isn't my everyday vehicle, this is technically like my weekend van. You know, we've got a family car which I use day in, day out. So normally my van sits on my drive. I might use it a couple of times a week to go to like a hardware store, B&Q, places like that. But for the rest of the week, it's just sort of sat here. And when it's a nice sunny week, essentially, my 200 watt solar panel on the roof is enough to charge up the Bluetti. So that by the time I'm ready to go camping the following week, it's all charged up. I've not had to do anything. But as the evenings are now getting darker earlier, I think it's darker around about 5 o'clock most nights now, the solar panel isn't providing enough power during the week to fully charge up my power station ready for my camping, which is a pain. I know you're probably thinking, well, Sean, that shouldn't be an issue because you've got the Charger 1, which is a DC. Oh, let me get in. I have the Charger 1, which is a DC to DC charger. So technically, that provides a lot more power to the power station than what the solar panel does. And it does, but the problem with that is that if I was using this van every day, I would be doing enough miles in it so that it would actually charge up my power station without the need for the solar. So as great as that is, I'm not driving the van enough to actually charge up the power station. So I need to think of a plan C. And currently, there is another way. This 240 cable actually plugs straight into the Bluetti, which is a fast and efficient way of charging up this power station. I could pretty much plug it in and it would be charged in like an hour. So worst case scenario, on a day like today where I'm like, today's the day I should be going camping, and I checked my power station and it literally had like 50% charge, and that's from a week. And unfortunately, that's not going to be enough for me to go camping, especially, I mean, I'm not at the stage yet where I need to turn on my diesel heater of an evening, but when I do, I'm going to be using a lot more consumption of my power station. So the lowest charge I can have on it is 90% for a camp. So 50% just isn't going to cut it. Okay, so currently we're at 57%, and the solar is actually only generating between 70 and 80 watts of power back into the power station. And for a 200 watt solar panel, that's actually not too bad. It's been raining all week, and when I came out here yesterday and it was torrential rain, I was literally getting 20 watts from the solar into the power station. And it's been like that all week, and that's why we're only at 57%. So my job for today is to fix that. What I want to do is run an extension cable, not under the van because my diesel heater is under here and I don't want it getting hot, but I want to run an extension cable all through the inside of the van and then out down the bottom, and then have an electric hookup mounted underneath so that I can literally just plug it into my workshop. Even if it's like the day before I go camping, if I'm not at least 90%, I can just plug it in. Within the hour, it's fully charged and I'm ready to go. Now I do have cables and things in my workshop, so let's see what I've got, but I've got a feeling I'm going to need to order something. What do you think of my workshop? It's coming on quite nicely, isn't it? Where's my ladder? Never climb down a ladder forwards. It's not good. So, this is everything I've got. This will come in very handy. I'll explain that later. So, I've had this for years. I used to use this in my awning in one of my previous vans. So if I went camping on a campsite, I'd have 240 volt in the awning. But the problem is, one of these blew. See that there? So this is essentially, I mean, I wouldn't probably use this anymore because of that. So what I'm thinking I could do, use this part, cut the wire, sack that bit off, and then have this underneath the van, and then when I need to plug in to the mains, I can put an extension lead into that, and then this part here, which is the female side, will go into that like so, and then that'll just plug into your normal household electrical socket. I'm not going to use this, and there's a reason why. If this is going to be dangling underneath my van, like clamped to the chassis or whatever, there's no cap on the end of this, right? So what that means is that any rainwater that comes up splashing off the wheels is going to come up and hit these terminals here, which is never a good thing. Electricity and water 100% don't mix. So I'm not going to be using this cable, because if I need to put a cap on that, I might as well just buy a new one of these. I do have this socket as well, which has the other end on it. It means that I can plug the power station 240 charger straight into this, run this wire on the inside of the van all the way to the back. The problem is it has a household plug on this side. So I can cut that off, get a proper one of these to go under the van with a cap on it, and then connect this part to this wire. The only thing that I have noticed straight off the bat is that these wires are completely different sizes. This one's a lot thicker. And the reason why I believe it's a lot thicker is because there's a consumer unit on here, and also there's 3 sockets. I'm not overly concerned about that, because even though this one has 2 sockets, I'm only going to be using one of them. It's essentially an extension lead, but it's just going to have a waterproof plug hanging out the back of the van. That's what she said. One of the first things we need to work out is where this wire is going to run from. The power station is down here. The input for the power station is on this side, okay? So what that means is that the socket's going to have to be on the cab side, and then the wire's going to have to run through. And what I'm thinking, if I can, I want to run it sort of behind the fridge, behind what's in that cupboard, and then I have these little compartments here. So I could run it along there, along the wall, and then obviously it would have to go over the wheel arch and down that side, and then from this side I drew a hole down through the floor, which will then come out under here somewhere. Sounds pretty straightforward, but I've got a feeling it's not going to be. About to cut this wire open and get the 3 wires out, and then I realised something. I've got to feed this through little holes through the van and everything. I'm going to drill lots of holes in the wood and down out through the metal floor, and if I actually cut this back and bring the wires out, I'm going to be getting snagged on everything, so I'm not actually going to cut that. I'm going to leave it as one solid wire like that, so it's just easier to feed through. Now I've got to work out a way to get this in through there. It should be fairly straightforward. I think I found a little hole. I can't get the camera in there and have my hand in there at the same time, so you just have to believe me when I say I'm feeding it through that little hole. So now, in the van, we should have a wire. There it is. Right, so now I just need to work out how to get it behind this fridge unit. I think I've come up with a better idea. I reckon I can feed this wire behind this backsplash, push in the wall a little bit because we've got a bit of flex there, and then that will allow this wire to drop down behind everything. Right, so behind here, look at that. So for anyone that's thinking, Sean, you probably should have just fed the wire under the van and out the back because it would have been easier. There's a chance it would have been easier, but at the same time, my driveway's not level. It's on a slant. So I didn't really want to jack the van up on this uneven surface. And I can't get under it if I lay on the floor. So this is my best option. So what I'm trying to do is I'm behind the kitchen unit. I'm feeling for the wire that I've just fed through so it can come down into this cupboard. But I can't feel it. Ah, there it is. Ah, got ya. Right, so now, watch, I should be able to pull this wire and you should see it move at the top. There we go. I've had to rip everything out of this cupboard just to get this wire through. It could have just stayed like a zigzag kind of wire, but my OCD wouldn't allow that, so I've had to sort of pull it through. But it's just like taking everything out. And when I was saying about this drive not being level, right, this is what I'm dealing with. Ready? So this is my tray of Irish stew, pot noodles, stuff like that. I put that on the top here like this, right? And look. That's what I'm dealing with. So now if I just drill a hole in through the side of this into under the bench, then I should be able to just feed the wire right the way through. Getting it behind that kitchen was definitely the hardest part. So now that's all of the wires fed through, and I'm just going to drill a hole down through now. That's all we've got out this side. I can leave that like that, and then literally just plug this straight into there, like so.
Do you know what? There's nothing I prefer more than after a long day working in this garage than to sit back and have a nice cold beer. Almost as a reward for all the hard work I've done. And that's where today's video sponsor comes in, Beer 52. And my friends over at Beer 52 are offering you not 8, not 9, but 10 free beers. Simply go to www.beer52.com/Sundays and just cover the postage to receive 10 unique beers delivered right to your door. I absolutely love Beer 52, and each month they visit a new place from around the world and expertly create a case of outstanding beers you won't find anywhere else. Now, I've been working with Beer 52 for a couple of years now, and the beers I receive are always exceptional. And this month they're exploring brewing cities synonymous with European Christmas markets. And your free case includes this smooth, rounded IPA from Vienna Craft. At 7%, it packs quite the punch, but still delivers a soft mouthfeel to deliver a moreish, festive delight. I reckon we just crack it open. Oh. Right, now don't judge me on my pouring skills. It's been a while since I worked in the pub trade. Oh, look at that. I think we need to give it a go. I tell you what, for a beer that has an ABV of 7%, it's got a strong taste, but it's not like overbearing. It's really nice. And one of the great things of Beer 52 is that if you don't like dark beer, you can order the light case and vice versa. And don't forget, you get some tasty snacks included. You can also learn about the fantastic breweries featured in this case with the award-winning Ferment magazine. I did not know that about beer. And even after all of that, if you're still unsatisfied, you can simply pause or cancel at any time. So that's www.beer52.com beer52.com/Sundays to claim your free case of 10 amazing beers now. That's beer52.com/Sundays. Thank you again to Beer52 for sponsoring today's video. I suppose I better get back to work. It's another day and a few things have changed. I've had a haircut and the weather has taken a turn for the worse. It's always the way. Whenever I need to do anything outside of the van, the heavens open, it gets miserable and it's just rank. But the reason why I had to wait for another day is because I had to wait for this to arrive. And this is a Mayo electric hookup socket essentially, but it's got a cap on it, see? And it's actually designed to be undermounted. So essentially I can screw this up to the subframe of the van so it's hidden. And then the wire will come down through the bodywork of the van into there, and then I can literally just plug it in whenever I need to charge the power station. This is the part I don't enjoy doing. I've got to drill a hole through my van, through the floor, out so I can run the wire through. I've then got to seal that hole so that the wire doesn't rub on the metal and actually cause it to short circuit, or it could be potentially quite dangerous if it does that. So there's two ways to do that. You can either get like a rubber grommet that will go over the top, and then that sits in the hole and that stops it from moving around. But to be honest, what I normally do, I chuck a load of CT1 sealer in the hole and then push the wire through, and then that seals it in place and stops it rubbing on the metal work. People might say that's not great, but I've always done it and I've never had any problems. If you put enough CT1 on there, it's not going anywhere. So that's probably what I'll do. So I'm going to be drilling the hole in through that little section there. And looking under the van, it looks like that will be coming up just up in here. It's like a nice clear space. And I can run the wire down here and then mount my hook up to this plate here. So I'll be starting off with a wooden drill bit just to get down through the floor, and then I've got this metal drill bit to go down through the frame of the van. I bet I won't get the drill bit down through here now, will I? No, for sake. How am I going to do this? Okay, first hurdle already. I can't get the drill down in that section, so I might have to come up from underneath. There does appear to be a little grommet hole there, which could be very handy, actually. We have a hole. See, now that was actually a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be, because there was a grommet there. Who knew? So now I should be able to poke that wire through quite easily. We've still got a lot of excess here, which is ideal because, I mean, I won't cut it. I'll cut it a little bit long so then I can poke the wires back up through. But yeah, that's great. Do you know what, that couldn't have actually worked any better. Because the wire now goes through a plastic grommet rather than just like bare metal, it's extra protection as well. I'm still going to stick some CT1 around it, but at least I know I've got the added protection of it being up against plastic rather than the bare metal. Now, I've never actually wired one of these up before, so I'm hoping it's fairly straightforward. I do need to take it apart though, if I can work that out. Right, so you've got these 3 pins. All I've done is I've just taken the plastic cover off. And it tells me where the live is, but it doesn't tell me which one's neutral or which one's the ground. So, I've just been looking at this. I found out how to wire it up on YouTube. Thank God for YouTube, right? This is the wire that's running through the van, okay? This is the thickness of it. And then just reading and watching this other video, obviously this is a 16 amp plug. And the wire that's coming out, this is designed for a 13 amp. And like I said earlier, even though it's literally just an extension lead and it's only going to be used to charge up the power station, I'm still thinking I need to use a 16 amp wire. I mean, look at the thickness difference between this one, which is the 16 amp, and this one, which is the 13. It's easy enough to do because I've already run this wire. What I can do is I can tape this wire to this one,
and then just pull it through. All the fact that I did the other day, I won't really, hopefully won't need to do it again, but it's just for safety really. I'm just kind of getting a bit twitchy because I'd much rather get this right than cause any fires or anything, obviously. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna run this wire really quickly. Right, so that's the old 13 amp cable ripped out, and this is the new 16 amp. That was actually really easy to install. Other than needing just to make the holes that I drilled a little bit bigger just to fit it through, it came through really easy. So happy with that. Now that actually worked out for the better because it means that I can actually connect this side in here in the workbench, because I'm not getting snagged at the other end of the van by this. So let's get this connected. Just want to add that I'm not an electrician. If you're going to do this yourself, then obviously get it checked. Also, the way that I normally remember which one's which is obviously the yellow and green is obviously the ground cable. The brown, the way that I make sure that I remember that the brown is the live, is that I think of it as, if you electrocute yourself and you touch the brown, you're going to poo your pants. Brown is live, and the last one's the neutral, which is the blue one. Ah! Yep, pooed my pants. Always give your cables a little tug. That's what she said. So now I should be able to just mount that. I do actually have some self-drilling metal screws in this workshop somewhere. Right, where's my screws? So these metal self-tapping screws are fantastic, because it means you don't have to drill a hole. Fingers crossed they can go through this sheet metal though, because this is quite thick. Yeah, like that. Oh, now you get. There we go. Right, so now this is wired up, that's plugged into the power station. That will all be tucked in under there. I'm just testing it at the minute. I will get a proper outside cable if I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis, but for now I'm going to use this extension lead and I'm going to just plug this in. Okay, that's that plugged in. And then plug that in to there. Let's just put that under the van so it doesn't get wet. Okay, I'm just going to check the Bluetti app. We've got 398 watts coming into the power station charging it. Obviously we've got power coming out because I've got the lights on in there. It works! But the main thing is it's still stealth, because even though that's plugged in, alright, when I'm driving along you will not see that extension, because you have to get pretty close, like right down here, to be able to see it. See? So even from like the back you can't see it unless you get down really low, and then there it is. So the van is also still stealth. I might even mount an outside socket just outside the workshop just so that I can plug it straight in as well, rather than having to sort of run extension leads and things like that out to the van and under the garage door. This way it can just be plugged straight into the side of the house. I've really enjoyed making this video. It feels nice to be sort of working on the van again. I spent a lot of time planning this van, and would I say that installing some form of charging through 240 volt through household mains or from a campsite, not installing that, was it a bit of an oversight? And in a way, yes. But at the same time, part of me was like, well, I can always add it later if I need to. And that was, even though I'm now covered in dirt, I've cut myself a couple of times, it was a fairly easy job. I think it's important to sort of allow yourself, whether you've built your own van or whether you've bought a van that's already converted, it's alright to make changes. And it's alright to add things later on down the road, because as I always say, you never really know what you need in a camper van until you start using it. And throughout the summer and the spring and when we had all the nice weather, I very, very rarely came into the problem that I've come into this week where my power station's just not had enough charge. So now this is my fail-safe. But as always, thank you to everybody that supports the channel. You're all absolute legends. Thank you to you for coming back every week to watch these videos. If you like how the workshop's looking, then maybe head over to my workshop channel and just see the progress of that. I'll link it there. But other than that, I'll see you next week. We'll be camping next week, okay? Cheers!